Hi, it's Pavel. Welcome to this series of videos introducing Golang programming language. In this particular one, I will show you how to start a web server application using Gin library, and we will add a few extensions to it to make working with it a bit nicer. What do we have in our basic part of the project? Is a Grow mod file, which defines a version of Grow that we want to use. And we have a list of packages that our one depends on. We have some basic ones, and we have Gin already installed by me before. So let's read through the current state of the project. We have a main function, which for now all that it does is to start a server with the use of some helper function. Start server sets the mode in which Gin will be working. As for now, it's debug mode, and it tries to set a server instance up and running, while the server instance is defined in that instance function. It just creates a router, which is some basic item from Gin, handling the requests to the server. This router registers as a single endpoint handler, which is health-check, and it creates an instance of HTTP server with a constant, as for now, path of localhost, as we will run it locally, and a port 7000. The handler for health check is a get function on a /health path, and it just returns a text of OK with route 200. We can start our server with go run main.go command. We can see that it starts with debug mode, and it registers a single /health endpoint. If we call this endpoint from for example third, we can see that it does indeed return an OK text. Okay, it's nice and running. It does it work, but it's quite simple and quite limited. So as for this video, we will extend it with two simple items, from which the first one is loader. I would say that nicely configured loader makes a great job as for helping jobs with development and future error handling. For this case, we will use zap library to install it. I will run a command of download gitlab from gin config /zap. It includes the required dependencies for zap, and we can just use it here to include it in our Gin definition of server. So I will start with import statement. I am attaching an alias here to make it more editable and not to confuse it with another zap library, the basic one that we will also need to use. To add zap support to Gin, we need to create an instance of loader. It's basic zap. Basic zap production loader. It works with JSON format that you will see in a second. And to actually attach it here, we need to call a router use function, which purpose is to add a middleware to the router. And I have missed something. Yes, I have a typo. Now it will work better. We initialize gzap as extension of zap for gin with before created loader instance time format that we will want to use, and flat of if we want to work with UTC time. It should work in this form. So let's and then run our server. And now if we call that kernel, we should see an entry with info level, with timestamp, and the status of the scroll on path/health. And we have that time entry with format that we defined in our middleware. So as for now, we have a loader in a very basic form configured. We will extend it in one of the next videos. And there is one more thing that I don't really like about this state of project, which is a hardcode address and mode of work. To fix it, we can use either environment variables or .env file. While the second option I think is easier to use for active development. I have prepared a basic file .env which includes gin mode. I have switched to release in this case just to show how would it change for gin. And I have defined host and port variables. To put it into work, we need to add one more dependency, which will be grow.env. And we will need to create some wrapper on it to be able to actually use it. For that, we need a function which will load our .env file. This function will use our newly imported library grow.env to load the file. In this basic config, it looks for .env file. We can put some a name field here, a name or names. That would help us to introduce files, let's say, to have different envs for different kinds of installation, etc. For now, we will stick to that basic option, and in case of error or success, we will print some message so we know what's the state. So if it won't be found, we will print a not found message, and in the other case we will make it say that it managed to load our .env file, and to have it included in our program. Actually, we will call it before starting our server. So while we start our server, we will already have that env file available. To test it, we can see that the env was loaded, so it works. One more thing that we will need to use it actually in server driver configuration is some function that will help us get the value of environment variable. For that, we will use a basic system function, which is os.lookup. That function takes a key and tries to find it in our environment. If it works well, if the variable exists, we can return its value, and if not, we will pen it with information that this variable was not found, and as we consider it to be required to work with the system, this will stop our application, that panic. We do need to have some environment variables defined to let the system start. And now we will include it in our start server. So we will get the mode for Gene from Gene mode variable, and we'll build this address from another set of variables using post and port to build the same format as it was hard-coded. But now we will be able to configure it on our running environment. So let's run it one more time. We don't see that debug message now, so we know that our system, our server started in release mode. And if we run that curl, we do see that it still listens on defined port 7000. That would be all for this video. In the next ones, we will extend massively this project, and in the description, I will put a link to GitLab repository with more advanced stage of this project. So thank you for your attention, and I hope to see you on the future videos.